Welcome back. You're watching HFO-TV. HFO-TV is co-sponsored by the construction, repair, and restoration firm J.R. Johnson, the real estate law firm Baljanik LLP, the tax deferral accommodator Beutler Exchange Group, the mortgage banking firm Gantry Incorporated, and forensic building consultants providing building structural science services.
Welcome back to HFO TV. I'm Greg Frick, partner at HFO Investment Real Estate. And today we have with us Toija Beutler, head of Beutler Exchange. Thank you for coming. It's kind of a, there's been a lot of conversation about Biden's tax plan. There's a little part of the tax plan about 1031s. Yes, and so I thought we'd bring Toija in so she could give us the inside skinny on what's really happening in D.C. And as we talked about off camera, this is not the first time we've heard that 1031s are going to go away or there's going to be some change, but every time it seems like it gets a little louder. So thank you for coming to talk with us about this.
Right. So truthfully, in my career, this is the third time that something has come along. Just as I'm hiring new employees, I'm told, 1031 might go away. So in this case, what's proposed is that there would be a cap on the amount of gain that could be sheltered in a given year by the taxpayer and their spouse.
Now, so there were changes. The last big change is when they got rid of it had to be real property.
Correct. And that was with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
Right.
Up until that, why we were doing exchanges of real property largely, but also personal property like equipment, aircraft, cows. We would do exchanges of cows. So that was taken away.
So that change was in 17 with the okay. And then to remind people, I remember back in the presidential election, it had been 16. There was a tax plan. I think the Democrats had on there to get rid of it. They didn't get in office, so it kind of didn't go anywhere. So the last major change has been it's now has to be real property as of 2017. But now this is a new plan of talking about limiting the amount. Yes. Right.
So the proposal, and we're just getting a little information. We really don't have full information about the proposal. The proposal is, first of all, it wouldn't be effective until next year, if it even passed. 1st of January next year,
So they're not doing a retroactive, okay.
No. The proposal is next year, if it were to pass. And it would allow for 1031, $500,000 of gain per taxpayer and their spouse. So if it's a couple selling, then they could take $1 million through the 1031, tax sheltered. But if they had gain in the property of $1.2 million, well, then the excess $200,000 would be taxable if this were to pass.
And what if it was an entity? What if it's an LLC, not?
Now you're getting kind of fancy on me, and we don't know.
Okay,
we don't know that much.
Okay.
But I would say my thinking is that it's an LLC, that being the taxpayer.
Right.
Probably only $500,000. Individuals own $500,000 apiece, but the taxpayer gets $500,000 tax-free.
Okay.
Probably only $500,000 on an LLC, which of course.
So right now the proposal, well, we don't have all the details, but it's right now we're going to, because originally a couple months ago it was like, oh man, 1031s are going to go away. Our phones were ringing off the hook. Is this my last chance to do something? Do I need to do it this year? And then it was, now I'm hearing, so now they're talking about just capping it. You'd get 500 per person, so a couple, $1 million.
Right.
After that, there's no deferral.
Exactly that. You'd be paying tax on the excess gains.
Okay.
So I will
in our world, that's a little tough because, again, we're not doing houses. We're doing large
commercial stuff.
buildings.
That's right.
Yes.
And the truth of the matter is, probably in my office, because our work is across the range of properties, the vast majority are small residential rentals, single-family duplex, and they would look at that and say, well, we're covered. I mean, that $500,000, we're going to be tax-free.
Right.
And yet that our message, I may be getting ahead of myself here a little bit, but our message to Congress is no cap, no cap, no cap. Probably 80% of my business would continue forward without change if that were implemented. But there's 20% of our business that is the commercial transactions like yours and a whole bunch of other stuff that would really kill us if they were to manage to pass that.
So the number of transactions may not go down as much but again, we're talking the volume though.
Right.
And the amount, that's where we're starting to get into some bigger numbers.
Right. And we worry, and we know, we're confident it would kill the commercial market if that were to happen. Do you think my client is going to sell a property with gains of $2 million and pay tax on the extra $1.5 million?
Right.
No, we don't think so. We think they'll just sit
Right.
They're not going to sell and trigger that kind of a tax implication. So it would kill the commercial market, which would be very bad for America at a time when the economy is trying to recover from the pandemic. And that is how we defended 1031 back in 2009-10 when there was a proposal at that point.
So do you bring up that, if there's no transactions, we're not having, new tax, you're not going to get your tax rolls are not going to go up, property taxes are, in essence are going to be, flatter for a while because you're not having transfer of ownership. Does that resonate, I'm not going to talk about Oregon and Washington politics, but let's talk federally. Do they get that in DC, or is, kind of what's the reception that you hear?
They get the fact that they're going to lose revenues. You're right. The state will lose revenues. Counties, if they have excise tax and transfer tax, they'll lose document tax in various states. They understand they're going to lose revenue at the state and local level. And they also understand that it will mean a loss of jobs as well. Because we know when a client sells a property, they have to fix it up a bit. That's hiring some people.
Right.
Then when the buyer purchases it, they're going to put a bunch of money in as well. Those are jobs.
Yeah, we're not talking transactional costs.
No,
we're talking
You're not
what you
talking
do to pre to sell and what you do post when you buy.
That's right. It's not your job or my job we're worried about. It's like, contractors, vendors that boost this economy as well. So we can show to them that there will be a loss of jobs.
And from your take, because I know you're pretty heavily involved in your lobbying group, what is the continued push? Is it not an understanding of who uses 1031s? Is it... because I was trying to explain to somebody, REITs aren't doing 1031s. I mean, this is typically an individual, or yes, it's an LLC, but most LLCs are an individual. Or is that kind of what it is? It get thrown in with we're just going to come after Wall Street, so to speak.
Well, so the impetus behind it is that those billionaires, the billionaires are using 1031, so they don't pay tax. Right. The billionaires. I do participate in national lobbying. We talk to Congress, Democrats exclusively Democrats, the House, the Senate, close to Biden. And we explained to them, and I said to one of them, frankly, in almost 30 years of doing this work, I have never not once had a client who was a billionaire.
To do this.
That's not who's doing these. It's our small business owners that are doing these. And that's our folks that own residential rentals. These are small business owners that use 1031 as a way to preserve capital, to grow their portfolio into bigger and better replacement properties. So they're worried about the billionaires, and that's not who's using them.
So is that where the cap has come into play?
Well, not the $500,000, no. I mean, then Obama had a proposal in his tax budget of a cap on 1031 at $1 million.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah,
right.
So it never went through.
Right.
So who conjured up the $500,000 now? We really don't know.
Right.
It comes sort of out of that historic Democrats, well, let's cap it. Why aren't those people paying their tax? We need tax revenue. Why aren't they paying? And so it's really that kind of thinking. And they don't understand at the ground level how that will hurt the economy. So.
And are you feeling confident that message is getting through? Is the groundswell of support for this, slowed down, or what's kind of looking in the crystal ball? I'm not, we don't know what's going to. Nobody knows what's going to happen in D.C. But what's the tea leaves telling you? So
to the last person, when we talked to the Democrats, again, House Ways and Means, Senate Finance, all those folks.
Right.
To the last one, in a one-on-one conversation, they totally get it. And frankly, many of them have done their own exchanges, or family members have done exchanges. They understand the power of that 1031. And also, we make the point, it's not tax-free, really. It's a tax deferral.
Right.
The tax bill didn't go away.
Right.
It's just sitting there in the next property. So to the very last person, they absolutely understand 1031, and we feel confident coming out of each of those meetings that they understand why it needs to stay there. I am not losing sleep over that proposal, but we don't know, as you know, there's no predicting what happens in Congress. So what's going to happen in the middle of the night and, in a back room, we don't know. But the message is being heard by every Democrat we speak with.
And then, so because of this, are you seeing from your clients a push to, this may go away, I need to do something today or this year? I know we're feeling that a little bit as well between that and, are they going to get rid of stepped up basis? Are they going to change the estate tax? And so there's this, I think some of it had to do with COVID as well. People just sitting there, okay, what do I really want to do? Let's make a life plan and things like that. Are you sensing that as well?
We are. Plus, if I may throw in, other factors that our clients are looking at are landlord-tenant law in some of our areas where they're upset about that. We don't even want to go down that path. And they're also looking at the fabulous interest rates. So for right now, we are seeing we have, and now I won't say unprecedented because we've seen an exchange volume at this level many years ago. We're seeing a crazy level of business, but part of that fear factor of 1031 going away. We know we've got it this year, at least we think we do. I feel confident, but their fear factor that it's going to go away. So if they're going to do an exchange, we got to do it this year.
Right. If I'm going to get my house in order, so to speak, and we're going to, this may be one chance to do it.
Yeah.
But you're confident the message is getting through.
Absolutely.
Thanks
We're on
to
the
your
front
lobbying.
lines.
Okay. Right.
That's right. And we hear from our lobbyist also on a daily basis. And the lobbyist our industry works with, we've worked with him for over 20 years.
Okay.
So he really is the right guy to help us with this effort. And we're hearing from him on a daily basis. Likewise, we knew that the Democrats were talking, they would have a budget by July, then August. He is now saying September, October, we'll see if they even have a budget at that point in time with all the wrangling that's going on.
Right.
So we don't think we're going to have anything useful for the client until later in the fall, if even then.
And this is always driven on the federal side.
Federal.
We don't hear, you're not having to spend, as in our world with, landlord-tenant law where it's, city, county, state, everybody's different. This is more on the federal side, so you can concentrate your lobbying in D.C.
Correct.
In doing that, which hopefully would be easier.
Right, at least it's a smaller group to go after.
Right.
But we do monitor at the state level as well. Once in a while, we have to get involved with Washington State with its proposal for capital gain taxes. We had to get involved with that. California has been doing some things. So we do monitor state by state. But this effort is really at the federal level.
Federal level, okay. Well, I thank you for taking the time to, educate in D.C. because, again, I don't think there's ever, it's very hard. They don't understand the trickle down of how, that's not a good word. They don't understand what that does when you take off transactions. It's not just the buyer and seller that are involved. It's vendors, it's contractors, it's transactional. There's a lot of moving parts on that.
Right. It's not just revenue dollars to the IRS.
Right.
That's what they're looking at. But so that's really education. That's what we do. Just educate, and we have to do this again. The third time that we've been under threat. Every time we have to go back in and re-educate the folks in Congress about the why 1031. Frankly, has been in the code 100 years.
Yeah.
This is our centennial.
This is yeah.
They cannot take it away from us in our centennial year.
What drove changing from real? Just kind of go back to 17. What was the driver between getting rid of real property or making it having to be real property, not what was behind that whole?
So that was a Republican measure,
right,
and business favorable. Because when they took away 1031 for personal property, the equipment, the cows, what they gave the business owner was expensing, 100% expensing.
More depreciation.
So we'll take away the 1031, but hey, you can expense it right here and right now. So it was, had different motivation behind it.
And didn't have a huge effect on the number. We didn't see, closings were a little different, we had Washington with sales tax, but other than that, you weren't driving transactions before that or after that. So.
No, in our office, before COVID, we were doing about 100 exchanges a month. We lost one a month, might have been personal property.
Okay, for that.
Very small percentage of our work.
Right. So historically, it's always real property anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get good news, or no news and nothing changes. But yeah, like I said, I originally heard that it was going to be completely excluded, and then there's going to be a cap. But again, it sounds like you guys are doing a lot of work to try to educate and beat this thing away.
Right, we really are. And I would say I and another attorney in the office, both of us are involved with that lobbying effort. So between the two of us, we're participating in every lobbying meeting. And it's so much better than when we would go back to D.C. and walk the Hill as a lobbying effort, but we would meet with staffers. You couldn't be sure whether the staffer was getting the message up to the congressman or woman. Well, in these, they're actually fundraisers, and we are talking directly to the Congress folks.
You are? Okay,
we are not speaking to subordinates. We're looking to them, and they've been wonderful. Zoom meetings. Zoom turns out to be the best way to talk to these folks. You get their concentrated attention for the half an hour or the hour. It's really been very, very, very successful.
So for our clients out there that are, what could they do to be involved to try to, we've leaned on them a lot over the years on landlord-tenant law and all kinds of things, but on this, is there, some specifically in Congress they should be talking to? Is it, do you want, campaign? What would be good? What do you as a group need to help kind of get this message through? Right.
So writing letters to their Congress person. And so, Greg, what I will give you after this, and you can maybe provide it to folks, is a link.
Perfect.
Our industry does have a website where they can go, pull up a letter and some information, writing to their folks in Congress. And we're starting to hear pretty good response on that. I think I heard recently it's like 40,000 letters have gone off to folks in Congress, across the country, mind you.
Got it.
So writing your congressperson, explaining to them the benefit of have it. Particularly if anybody has connections with Senator Wyden or Merkley.
Those are okay. Yeah, here locally.
Please.
Yes,
I've
yes.
met with both of them, but talking to your folks, letting them know how important it is to your business, that's where it's meaningful, and how important it is to jobs. And if you don't have 1031, you're just going to sit on your property, and you'd rather die owning it than pay those
and again,
taxes.
then you don't have there's no property taxes are going to be flat, so
Right.
it's just going to trickle down quite a bit. So.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll have that on our site, and we'll get that
I'll
out
get that
so
to you.
people can, again, make it as easy as possible. But it would be great from I know it's kind of old school with the letter writing campaign and the emails, but it does work, as your lobbyist is telling you. Yeah.
They count those, and we were getting reports as to how many each congressman was getting on 1031 specific. They count those, they keep track. They don't read them necessarily, but they will note that they got letters regarding that issue.
Is there some benchmark times, that in terms of when it's, hey, it's a go or not a go? I mean, what's the lobbyist telling you? We've got 60 days, 90 days? Kind of shine some light on that.
Well, so we don't think we're really going to hear anything definitive until the fall, maybe.
Okay.
But to be honest, in our industry, we started lobbying 2 years ago, because we knew that there was a possibility of a change of administration.
Right.
So we weren't going to wait until that came about. We have been talking to these folks for the last 2 years, not to mention the decade before.
Right, okay.
But we got right in there just when it was a hint that there might be anything 1031 related. So really right now is the time to write those letters. Don't wait until October or September to write. It is now to get out ahead of it.
Got it. Okay. And again, we'll get that posted so
Thank
people
you.
get that. Thank you for taking the time to shine a light on this. I know a lot of our clients have been talking to us about it, asking us what our thought is, and we thought, well, let's get the expert in here and really get a feel. I mean, the good news is, if it does go through, they're talking about not having it to 2022, but the hope is they, wise
Not at
up
all.
and figure out that, there's more behind it than, what they think. So
Yeah, not at all. And if they were, no cap, no cap, no cap.
Right.
They just can't put a cap on it. It's just going to hurt too many of our investors that really do need to use 1031, particularly small business.
most definitely. Well, thank you again for coming.
Thank you.
We'll see you
My
next time on
pleasure.
HFO-TV.
Our entire office specializes in multifamily real estate, making HFO the largest multifamily brokerage in the Pacific Northwest. Your success is our passion. Build your legacy with HFO. Call 503-241-5541 or visit our website at hfore.com for more information.